Dr. Nina Rodriguez stared at her security badge, the holographic emblem of Nova Dynamics catching the harsh fluorescent light of the underground facility. 3 months into her new position as lead xenobiologist, and she still couldn't shake the feeling that something was fundamentally wrong with the research being conducted here. The elevator hummed as it descended deeper into the facility, each level requiring additional biometric scans. Level 7, where most scientists never ventured. But Nina's curiosity had led her to notice patterns in the energy readings from this floor, patterns that suggested something far more sophisticated than the simple containment units they were supposed to be testing. The doors opened to reveal a corridor bathed in blue light. Nina's footsteps echoed against the polished floor as she made her way to the observation room. According to the logs, no one should be here at this hour. The perfect time to investigate. She approached the main terminal, her fingers flying over the holographic interface. The security protocols were unlike anything she'd seen before, but Nina had spent weeks studying them, finding the subtle gaps in their programming. Within minutes, she was in. The screens came alive with data, and Nina's breath caught in her throat. These weren't just containment experiments. They were holding something. Someone. A soft glow emanated from the chamber beyond the observation window. Nina pressed her hand against the glass, and for the first time she saw her. A being composed of what appeared to be living crystal, her form shifting like the surface of a calm sea catching starlight. The alien structure was impossibly elegant, each facet refracting light in ways that defied physics. "You're different from the others," a voice echoed in Nina's mind, causing her to stumble backward. The crystalline being turned, revealing what Nina assumed was her face, a more concentrated collection of geometric patterns that shifted and realigned with each thought. "I'm Nina," she whispered, knowing she should report this, should follow protocol, should do anything except what she was doing. "What's your name?" "In your language, the closest approximation would be Solara," the being responded. "I've watched you, Nina. You examine the data with care, with concern for life. The others, they seek only to understand how to break things apart." Nina's hand trembled as she accessed the research files. What she found made her stomach turn. Experiments designed to test the crystalline being's structural integrity under extreme conditions, attempts to harvest their energy-conducting properties, studies on their telepathic abilities that bordered on torture. "I didn't know," Nina said, her voice thick with emotion. "This isn't what science is supposed to be about. This isn't who we are. Yet here you are," Solara observed, her form pulsing gently, proving that humanity contains multitudes. "Your kind can be cruel, yes, but also compassionate, destructive, yet nurturing. It's why we came to study you in the first place." Nina's eyes widened. "You were studying us." "We are researchers too, in our way. My ship approached Earth to observe human emotional capacity. We never intended to make contact, but your military vessels detected us. And now," Solara's form dimmed slightly. "Now I serve as an unwilling test subject, while my crew's fate remains unknown to me." A noise from the corridor snapped Nina to attention. The night shift would be starting soon. She quickly began erasing evidence of her presence in the system. "I'll come back," Nina promised, her decision already made. "We'll find a way to make this right." "Be careful, Nina Rodriguez," Solara cautioned. "Your species' capacity for both good and evil makes you unpredictable, even to yourselves." As Nina hurried back to the elevator, her mind raced with possibilities. She would need help. Someone with access to security systems, someone who still remembered why they got into science in the first place. And she would need to move fast. The weekly experiments were escalating, and Nina couldn't bear the thought of what they might do to Solara next. In her quarters that night, Nina began planning. Years of research experience had taught her how to approach problems methodically, but this was different. This wasn't just about science anymore. It was about justice, about showing that humanity could be better than its worst impulses. She pulled up the personnel files she had access to, looking for potential allies. One name stood out: James Chen, head of security for the night shift. She had noticed him questioning some of the facility's more extreme protocols. Perhaps he too had seen enough to know that something wasn't right. Tomorrow, she would make contact. Tomorrow, she would start proving that humanity deserved its place among the stars, not through force or fear, but through compassion and courage. As Nina finally drifted off to sleep, her dreams were filled with crystalline structures and possibilities that stretched to the stars themselves. The security office on level 5 was quiet when Nina approached, her heart thundering in her chest. James Chen sat at his desk, reviewing camera feeds with the kind of attention that had first caught her notice. His dark eyes flicked up to meet hers, curious but guarded. "Dr. Rodriguez," he said, gesture indicating the chair across from him. "This is an unexpected visit." Nina closed the door behind her, activating the privacy screen, a move that made James raise an eyebrow. "What I'm about to tell you, it could cost us both our jobs. Or worse." "Those are dangerous words in a place like this," James replied, but he leaned forward, interest evident in his posture. "Level 7 isn't what they told us," Nina began, keeping her voice low despite the privacy screen. "They're holding sentient beings, conducting experiments that violate every ethical principle we're supposed to stand for." James' expression remained neutral, but Nina noticed his hand move away from the security alert button under his desk. "You've seen them." It wasn't a question. "Her name is Solara," Nina confirmed. "She's part of a research team that came to study us. James, they're scientists, like us, and we're treating them like lab rats." James ran a hand through his short black hair, a rare gesture of uncertainty from the typically composed security chief. "I've seen things on the cameras, energy patterns that don't match any known technology. But my clearance doesn't allow access to Level 7's feeds." "I can show you," Nina offered. "Tonight. You need to see for yourself." The silence that followed seemed to stretch for eternity. Finally, James nodded. "My shift ends at 2300. Meet me by the auxiliary elevator." That night, as they descended to Level 7, Nina explained everything she'd learned. James listened intently, his professional demeanor masking the growing concern in his eyes. When they reached Solara's chamber, the crystalline being was waiting. Her form brightened at Nina's approach, then shifted curiously as she registered James's presence. Another who sees, Solara's thoughts reached them both, causing James to stumble slightly at the unexpected mental contact. "Incredible," he whispered, approaching the containment field. "All this time, we thought we were advancing science." "You were deceived," Solara stated simply. "As were many others here. But time grows short. The experiments, they are approaching a critical phase." Nina felt her blood run cold. "What do you mean?" "They believe they have found a way to harvest our essence, to extract the properties that allow us to manipulate energy and consciousness. The process," Solara's form flickered painfully, "it would destroy us. Not just our physical forms, but the very essence of what we are." James was already at a terminal, his security clearance combining with Nina's scientific access to reveal files they couldn't see individually. What they found confirmed their worst fears. 3 days, James said, his voice tight. "They're scheduled to begin the extraction process in 3 days. Nina's mind raced. "We need help. Someone who knows the facility's systems inside and out. Someone who can help us create a diversion." "Diane Park," James suggested after a moment. "She's our lead systems engineer. She designed half the security protocols in this place, and she's been asking questions about the power fluctuations from Level 7. Can we trust her? She lost her wife to corporate negligence 3 years ago. Been a quiet whistleblower ever since. If anyone would help us expose this and save Solara, it's her." Nina turned to Solara, whose form had taken on a deeper, more serious hue. "We'll need to move fast, and we'll only get one chance. Are there others like you here? Other members of your crew?" 2 others, Solara confirmed, held in stasis on level 8. I can sense them, but barely. They are diminished. Then we save them all, Nina declared, her determination growing stronger. This isn't just about science anymore. This is about showing that humanity can recognize its mistakes and make them right. James was already pulling up facility schematics on his tablet. We'll need to bypass at least 15 security checkpoints, deal with armed guards, and somehow transport 3 crystalline beings out of the facility without being detected. And then, Nina asked, the enormity of their task beginning to sink in. Then we expose everything, James replied grimly. Every experiment, every violation. Make it too big to cover up. Solara's form pulsed with something that felt like hope. Perhaps this is why we were drawn to study humanity. Your capacity for change, for growth, it is remarkable. As they began to plan, Nina felt a strange sense of peace despite the danger ahead. This was what it meant to be human, not the cruelty of the experiments, but the courage to stand against them, the strength to fight for what was right, even in the face of impossible odds. They had 3 days to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. 3 days to show that compassion could triumph over fear. 3 days to change everything. Diane Park's workshop was a maze of holographic displays and dismantled equipment. The systems engineer sat surrounded by screens, her silver-streaked hair pulled back in a tight bun, eyes reflecting the glow of data streams as Nina and James explained the situation. I always knew there was something wrong with those power readings, Diane muttered, fingers dancing across multiple interfaces. But this is beyond anything I imagined. She pulled up a complex diagram of the facility's power grid. See these energy spikes? They're not just running experiments. They're harvesting power directly from these beings. The containment fields aren't just holding them. They're feeding off them. Nina felt sick. That's why they're getting weaker. Exactly, Diane confirmed, her expression hardening. And based on these calculations, they're planning something big. The extraction process they're preparing for, it would drain them completely. James leaned closer to the displays. Can you shut it down? Not without triggering every alarm in the facility. But Diane's eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. I might be able to reverse it. Her fingers flew across the keyboards, bringing up system architectures Nina could barely follow. The containment fields are designed to draw energy from the crystalline beings. But with some modifications, we could turn them into conduits instead. Feed power back into them. Would that be enough to help them escape? Nina asked. More than that, Diane smiled grimly. If we time it right, we could create an energy surge that would overload half the facility's systems. A perfect diversion. A soft chime indicated someone approaching the workshop. They quickly dispersed the sensitive displays as Dr. Harrison, the facility's director, entered. Quite the gathering, he observed, his pale eyes scanning the room. Working late. System diagnostics, Diane replied smoothly. Dr. Rodriguez had some concerns about power fluctuations affecting her experiments. Harrison's gaze lingered on Nina. Indeed. I wasn't aware your clearance extended to facility systems, Doctor. Just trying to be thorough. Nina met his stare evenly. We wouldn't want any unexpected complications. After Harrison left, they waited several tense minutes before speaking again. He suspects something, James warned. Then we move tonight, Nina decided. How soon can you have the modifications ready? Diane checked her calculations. 4 hours. Maybe 3 if I push it. But we'll need someone to manually activate the surge from level 8. The controls there are isolated from the main network. I'll do it, James volunteered. I can get past the guards without raising suspicion. Nina shook her head. We'll need your security clearance to access the containment controls on level 7. I'll handle level 8. As they finalized their plans, Nina's tablet chirped with an urgent message. Her blood froze as she read it. They're moving up the timeline, she whispered. The extraction process. They're starting preparations now. Diane swore under her breath. They must have detected my probes into the system. We have to move fast. The next hours passed in a blur of frantic preparation. Diane worked on the power modifications while James mapped out guard rotations and security blind spots. Nina returned to Solara's chamber one last time. They know something's wrong, she informed the crystalline being. We're moving tonight. Solara's form pulsed with concern. Nina, there's something you need to know. Something we discovered about humans before we were captured. Your species. You're on the verge of a transformation. That's why we came to study you. What kind of transformation? Your capacity for empathy, for connection. It's evolving. Some humans are developing abilities similar to our own. Telepathic potential, energy manipulation. That's the real reason they're so interested in us. They're not just studying aliens. They're trying to unlock something within humanity itself. The revelation staggered Nina. That's why the experiments. They're trying to force the evolution. At the cost of countless lives, both human and alien, Solara confirmed. But true evolution cannot be forced. It must be earned through understanding, through growth, through choices like the one you're making now. A distant alarm began to sound. Nina's tablet lit up with alerts. Security suites starting early, personnel being questioned. They're searching for collaborators, Nina realized. We're out of time. She rushed back to Diane's workshop, arriving just as James burst in from another direction. Harrison's ordered a complete lockdown, he reported breathlessly. They're sealing off level 7 and 8 in 30 minutes. Diane looked up from her work, determination etched on her face. Then we go now. Ready or not. As they gathered their equipment and prepared to split up, Nana felt the weight of everything they were about to attempt. They weren't just saving 3 alien beings anymore. They were taking a stand for humanity's future, choosing what kind of species they wanted to be. Whatever happens, she told her companions, thank you for proving that humanity's best qualities are stronger than its worst. They moved out separately, each heading to their assigned positions. The facility's lights flickered ominously, as if sensing the coming storm. In less than an hour, they would either change everything or lose everything. Nina clutched the modified power core Diane had given her and headed for level 8. Above her, cameras watched, guards patrolled, and somewhere, Harrison was surely putting the pieces together. But she wasn't afraid anymore. They were about to show the universe what humanity was truly capable of, not through force or fear, but through courage, compassion, and the unwavering determination to do what was right. The descent to level 8 felt like entering another world. Emergency lights cast crimson shadows across the walls as Nina moved through maintenance tunnels Diane had mapped out. Her heart pounded with each step, the modified power core humming softly in her pack. Security sweep approaching Section C. James's voice crackled through her earpiece. He tapped into the guard frequencies, giving them a slim advantage. Nina pressed herself against a wall as footsteps echoed nearby. 2 guards passed, their faces tense. Director wants all personnel accounted for, one was saying. Something about a potential breach. When they were gone, Nina continued her descent. Level 8 was different from the rest of the facility. More industrial, with massive power conduits running along the walls. The air itself seemed to vibrate with contained energy. I'm at the primary junction, Nina whispered into her comm. Diane, talk me through this. Look for a red panel marked Grid Control Alpha. Diane's voice guided her. But Nina, I'm seeing increased power draws. They're starting something big. Nina found the panel and began connecting Diane's modified core. Above, she could hear alarms beginning to sound. They're sealing off level 7, James reported urgently. I'm moving to Solara's position now. Through the comm, Nina heard Diane swear. They're initiating emergency protocols. Nina, we need that power surge now. Nina's fingers flew over the controls, following Diane's instructions. The core began to pulse with increasing intensity, its glow reflecting off the metallic walls. Suddenly, a voice cut through their comms. "Director Harrison, I have to admire your initiative, Dr. Rodriguez, but did you really think we wouldn't be monitoring all communications?" Nina's blood ran cold, but she kept working. They'd known this was a possibility. "You don't understand what you're interfering with," Harrison continued. "These beings, their potential could advance human evolution by decades. Sometimes progress requires sacrifice. Progress without ethics isn't progress," Nina responded, making the final connections. "It's just cruelty with a better marketing team." The core flared to life, energy surging through the facility systems. Above, lights flickered and security doors began malfunctioning. "Diane, now," Nina called. On level 7, Diane executed her part of the plan. The containment fields around Solara and the other crystalline beings didn't just fail. They reversed, feeding power back into the aliens instead of draining them. "Move fast." Diane's voice was tense. "Security teams are converging on both levels." Nina was already running. Heading for the emergency stairs, she had to reach level 7 before. An explosion rocked the facility. Through her comm, she heard James shout, "Harrison's activated some kind of failsafe. They're trying to terminate the specimens." But the surge had worked. As Nina burst onto level 7, she saw Solara's chamber glowing with intense light. The crystalline being was free, her form radiating power that made the air crackle. "The others," Solara's voice echoed in Nina's mind. "We must free them." Together, they raced through the chaos of the failing facility. Security teams tried to stop them, but Solara's newly restored powers kept them at bay, her energy fields deflecting weapons fire. They found the other 2 crystalline beings, Coronis and Astrid, Solara called them, in a heavily fortified chamber. James was there, trying to bypass the reinforced doors. "The controls are fried," he reported grimly. "Stand back," Solara commanded. She and Nina placed their hands on the door. Nina wasn't sure why she did it, but something told her she needed to. Energy flowed between them, human and alien united in purpose. The door didn't just open, it dissolved. Inside, Coronis and Astrid lay dormant in their chambers, but as Solara approached, their forms began to brighten. "Nina," Diane's voice crackled through the comm. "Harrison's initiated a core meltdown. He's trying to bury the evidence. Can you stop it?" "Not remotely. Someone has to get to the reactor control room." James was already moving. "On it. Get them out." As the facility shuddered around them, Nina felt something strange, a connection, not just to Solara, but to all 3 crystalline beings. Their energy, their consciousness, seemed to reach out to her. "The transformation," Solara's voice echoed in her mind. "It's beginning. Your empathy, your courage, they've awakened something." Nina gasped as she felt power flow through her, unlike anything she'd ever experienced. Understanding flooded her consciousness. This was what Harrison had been trying to force, to weaponize. But it couldn't be taken. It had to be earned through compassion, through sacrifice, through choosing to do what was right no matter the cost. The facility's lights turned red as the meltdown sequence continued. They had minutes at most. "James," Nina called through the comm. "Get out of there." "Almost got it." His voice was strained. "Just need to. There." The alarm sounds changed. The meltdown was averted, but the facility was still coming apart from the power surges and explosions. As they ran for the emergency exit, Nina felt her newfound power growing stronger. She could sense the others around her, James's determination, Diane's fierce focus, the crystalline being's ancient wisdom. They were nearly there when Harrison appeared, backed by armed guards. His face was contorted with desperate rage. "You don't understand what you're throwing away," he snarled. "The power to reshape humanity itself." Nina stepped forward, energy crackling around her hands. "Humanity will reshape itself, Director. Not through force or fear, but through choice, through compassion." The guards raised their weapons, but Nina was no longer afraid. She could feel Solara's strength flowing through her, merging with something that had always been there, waiting to awaken. They were about to show Harrison exactly what humanity could become when it chose to evolve through love instead of fear. The standoff in the corridor crackled with energy, both literal and metaphorical. Nina stood between Harrison's armed guards and the crystalline beings, power flowing through her in waves that made the air shimmer. "Last chance, Dr. Rodriguez." Harrison's voice was cold. "Stand down, or we'll be forced to terminate this little rebellion." Nina felt Solara's consciousness brush against hers. Together, the aliens' thoughts whispered, "Show them what humanity can truly become." "You want to see evolution, Director?" Nina raised her hands, and the energy surrounding her intensified. "Watch carefully." The guards opened fire, but their weapons' energy blasts curved around Nina and her allies, caught in a field of shimmering force. Behind her, Solara, Coronis, and Astrid began to glow with increasing intensity. "It's not about controlling power," Nina declared, her voice resonating with newfound strength. "It's about understanding it, about choosing how to use it." Through their connected consciousness, Nina felt James and Diane coordinating their own roles. Diane had locked down the facility's communications, preventing Harrison from calling reinforcements. James was ensuring their escape route remained clear. Harrison drew his own weapon, face contorted with rage and desperation. "Everything I did was for humanity's advancement." "No," Nina countered, taking a step forward. "It was for control. But real advancement, real evolution, comes from letting go of control, from trusting in connection, in empathy, in our capacity to grow together." The crystalline beings moved in perfect synchronization with Nina. Their combined energy created patterns in the air, geometric shapes that seemed to fold through dimensions Nina had never imagined existed. The power was always within humanity. Solara's voice echoed for all to hear. "We came not to give it to you, but to help you understand it, to see if you were ready to use it wisely." Harrison fired his weapon. The blast struck Nina's energy field and rebounded, destroying the ceiling panels above him. As debris rained down, Nina reached out with her newfound abilities, creating a shield that protected everyone, including Harrison and his guards. "That," Nina said quietly, "is the difference between your way and ours." The guards looked at each other, then at the shield that had saved them. One by one, they lowered their weapons. "Director Harrison," James's voice rang out as he approached from behind, weapon trained on the director. "You're under arrest for illegal experimentation, attempted murder, and about a dozen other charges we'll sort out later." Diane's voice came through their comms. "The facility's data has been secured and transmitted to multiple secure locations, including some very interested parties in the Government Oversight Committee." Harrison's shoulders slumped in defeat as James began securing him. The director looked at Nina with a mixture of anger and bewilderment. "You could have had everything. Power beyond imagination." "We already do," Nina replied. "We just had to learn how to earn it." The aftermath unfolded like a dream. Government officials arrived, drawn by Diane's carefully planned information leak. The facility was secured, its darker purposes exposed to the light of day. But more importantly, humanity had its first official contact with an advanced alien species, one that had seen their potential for growth and chosen to help guide it. Months later, Nina stood on a hilltop under the stars, watching as Solara and her companions prepared to return to their people. The crystalline beings had spent weeks helping humanity understand their awakening abilities, teaching them to use them responsibly. "You'll come back?" Nina asked, though she already knew the answer through their lingering mental connection. "Of course," Solara's form sparkled in the moonlight. "You've proven that humanity is ready for the next step in its journey. There is much more to learn, and to teach, and much more to discover about ourselves." Nina added, thinking of the growing number of humans who were beginning to show signs of awakening abilities. not through forced experiments, but through natural development, guided by understanding and compassion. As the crystalline beings ascended in a display of light that outshone the stars, Nana felt the connection they'd forged remained strong. It was more than just a link between species now. It was a promise of what humanity could become when it chose to evolve through understanding rather than force, through unity rather than division. James and Diane joined her on the hilltop, their own newly awakened abilities adding to the harmony Nina could feel building across the planet. The true experiment, they had learned, wasn't about controlling power or forcing evolution. It was about growing into the potential that had always existed within humanity's heart. The potential to rise above fear, to choose compassion, to reach for the stars not with weapons, but with open hands and minds ready to learn. As they watched the light of their alien friends fade into the cosmos, Nana smiled. This wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. Humanity's first steps into a larger universe, guided not by force or fear, but by the very qualities that made them human: curiosity, compassion, and the courage to choose a better way forward. The stars seemed brighter now, full of promise and possibility. Humanity had passed its test, not through strength or control, but through the power of choice, the choice to be better, to grow, to evolve through understanding and love. The real experiment was just beginning.